I think so much of what's interesting about movies are some of the small facts that we never really get to see or hear about when we see the movie, but really did impact the quality and experience that we have while watching the movie. So I'm going to talk about Rushmore, and I'm going to just say some really interesting facts about it because I think that those do go underlooked a lot of times. And so one of the things about Rushmore that's interesting is that it's a pretty small budget. It's only $9 million. It sounds like a lot, but compare that to the $23 million that Wes Anderson had to make the Grand Budapest Hotel. That's a tiny fraction of what he has now, and that really influences the way that the movie is made. And how it looks, because we recognize Wes Anderson's films in a really distinctive way, and this is really before we get a lot of that distinctiveness, and I think that's really interesting to look at. And he did have to kind of cut some corners, or not cut some corners, but rather find some inventive ways to get around some of the budgeting, and it makes for a really interesting film. It was co-written by Owen Wilson, and Owen Wilson actually went to a prep school. And that speech that Bill Murray gives at the beginning of the film was inspired by Robert Wilson, which is Owen Wilson's dad, on privilege and all of that. And actually, like Max Fisher in the film, Owen Wilson was expelled from his prep school. And this is really interesting because he was expelled for stealing a geometry teacher's textbook, the one with the answers in it. And then in the film, Max Fisher has a dream about geometry class and solving the problem. So that's a really interesting correlation between the two, I think. Let's see. So because this did come from a very personal and a very personal place, they really wanted to give it a very authentic feel. So they actually went to prep schools and interviewed people from prep schools to play Max Fisher, which is really great because it kind of gives it a more natural touch. And they interviewed like 1,800 students before Jason Schwartzman, and this is actually his debut film, showed up to the interview with a blazer and an emblem which he'd made himself of Rushmore, so that kind of sealed the deal for him. And so, I think what we can all take away from this film is that Bill Murray is just such a key player in this film. And actually, Bill Murray read the script, loved it so much that he actually volunteered to do it for free. He didn't even want to get paid. And he only took like $9,000. He got compensated later when the movie made so much more money. But yeah, he was so in love with the film, he was just going to do it for free. And actually, so let's see. Bill Murray actually didn't like Jason Schwartzman when they first started filming. And I think that relationship is perfect because they did warm up to each other. But I think that grain of annoyance really comes through when he does in the film get annoyed with him. And I think that's kind of a nice touch. And Bill Murray is such a character that, I mean, he would have played it anyway, but that authenticity is there and it's great. Let's see. So, actually, Bill Murray paid for the helicopter scene in Rushmore as well, in the play. So, I think that movie would be completely different if Bill Murray hadn't been a part of it as well. And actually, my favorite fact about Rushmore, and I think just the thing that gives Wes Anderson his edge, is that in Rushmore, it actually foreshadows The Life Aquatic, because Max is reading a book in the library called Diving for the Sunken Treasure by Jacques-Yves Cousteau, which is the character that Steve Zissou in Life Aquatic is based off of, which I just think is such a great little detail that kind of ties his movies together, because there is this kind of continuity, and that is one of his biggest suits as a director, is this really heightened continuity between films, between his films, and I just think that's like fantastic. And one last little snippet that I like is that Alexis Bledel, this is her first appearance in a movie, and she's just a student in the classroom sitting at the desk, but if if Alexis Bledel hadn't been in this movie, do you think that it would be the same? Do you think that our life would be enhanced by the sisterhood in the same way if Wes Anderson hadn't cast her in this film? I don't think so. But anyway, I think what we can take away from this film is that it's just a great piece of work, and it draws a lot from personal experience, and it shows how intimate a film can be while still being quirky and engaging and just fantastic. And I think everyone should watch it if you haven't watched it.